Hey everyone, it's John Reek here from Cast and Shoot Outdoors, CnS Outdoors on Facebook and YouTube. Bringing you back to the second part of our video with Roger Carlson out at Howling Hollow Taxidermy in Genoa, Wisconsin. In this video, he's going to show you what you're going to be doing if you're out west and you got that deer caped out and you need to remove that skull. Pretty informational video. Roger does a great job of explaining it. Hope you enjoy it, and we'll see you at the end of the video. For the guys going out west, Roger's going to show you another little trick here for caping out your deer.
So make sure you leave me enough lip skin because I need to tuck that. So once we get going here a little bit, you'll be able to see a little better. I'm going to go right by the teeth there. This is a tool I'm really comfortable with. So
That being your scalpel.
you know, it's like my second finger.
Or did you try to take that second finger off?
I did yesterday. Holy smokes. You know, I got wounded pretty good. I never do that. I looked right at it and I hardly ever get cut. All right, so now we're gonna peel this top lip back. And right here you'll see where that hard palate is. I kind of want that thing to come right around the bottom side of that. So I got plenty of skin to work with. Same on this side. And then you can follow that line down.
Sure.
And on this side too. Because you guys are going to have to pop the caps on these if you're in a CWD area. And then we'll just start working it open.
So this is not something people normally do when they bring you a deer head.
No, I prefer not. Unless you're out west or someplace where you have to like get everything skinned out to bring back. So there's some things I'm going to go over as we're doing this to kind of, because there's one thing that always happens to people when they're doing this out in the field, and I'll show you when we get there and how we prevent that. But try to cut that big muscle right there too. So as a kid, I grew up working in a fur company, and so I've had knives and stuff in my hands since I was little. But some people are really afraid to go at a deer like this because there's a lot on the line. I mean, you could cut a hole in there, and not to say that it's not fixable. I've had guys that accidentally shot them in the face with broadheads. I mean, things happen. Tines, getting puncture wounds, and you know, I cut holes too. Everybody cuts holes.
Sure.
I'm not perfect.
One of the things I did want to ask you, just so people understand, you see so many people that hang their deer for a week, and they don't care what the temperature is.
Right.
I mean, what are we looking at here?
Here's what starts to happen. Maybe a couple days in, these ears, there's nothing here. So they're gonna start drying and they're gonna do this curl thing. So as a taxidermist, I have to come in and we'll actually open these up, turn them inside out, and I take the cartilage out.
Okay.
So when we start getting here, you're gonna start having tears and stuff, but we still have to open them up. So it makes it really hard. A fresh deer like this is awesome because I can go in, and what I'll do is I'll bag everything up, throw it in the freezer. But then when I get ready to work on it, because I tan everything in-house, and it just makes it nice because these will split like just butter.
Okay.
And another thing too is the nose will start to dry up and crumble in.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes it really hard to get up in here, you know, because I don't like to cut holes in anything. But if this is all dried out, you're trying to work that cartilage out of there and stuff. It doesn't work. So, I mean, as soon as this deer is shot, the faster you get it here, the better. And most things, too, lose about 40% of their tanability after 24 hours.
Okay.
So, I mean, we're always on the clock.
Sure. So one of the things I know we talked about, especially with a bear,
Yes, bear.
but this does happen too, I'm sure, with deer, is you see so many guys that get their deer, especially in early season bow, they'll go ahead and they'll skin it, keep it out to bring it to you. But what they do is they don't give it time to cool. So now they're rolling up that hide. Do you see a problem with that in deer?
As long as it's coming here right away, I don't, because
I think you had a broadheads or something.
Just a second.
Oh, okay, good. Just saw that. I thought I better say, hey.
I've had that happen too. Just the sooner it gets here, the better. That way I can deal with it, get it where it needs to go.
Sure.
I got 10 freezers on site, and by the end of the season, they'll all be full.
Sure. But for the people that do this and they don't, have that next day availability or whatever,
Yeah.
just a little tip that if you do it,
thing too is like some of the guys will be like, I can't get there until this day, and that's fine. If it's cool enough outside, what I'd ask everybody to do is hang this deer, get it to this point and then hang it up, because if it's hung, everything's kind of down. If you take this and throw it on the floor in the garage like that, things start to pool up. And this blood is terrible. Moisture is terrible for these hides because it'll fire the bacteria off. And then you can actually just pull you can just pull the hair right off. I don't have anything to show you, but bacteria is not, it's not something to play with if you're looking for a good mount,
Okay. Well, again, thank you. That's another good point to know. Take care of your caping.
So you can make a T cut, you can make a Y cut. This is usually the slowest going right here because everything kind of comes to a head right there. No pun intended. So I'll get that opened up, get everything cut to the burrs. Now turn. And like I said about sewing, this is all I have to sew. So I'll just make a little short incision there. Yep. And now I'm wide open. And I'll actually pull that whole screw right through that hole.
Now, some guys, they're going to do European mounts. They're not going to do this hide mount. I have seen where they cut the skull plate right here, and then they'll leave this.
That's fine. For me, it's fine. What I would prefer is if somebody brought the European in like this, because then I'll buy the cape, and then I'll knock that off the price of the Euro, and then I can skin it out however I want to.
Sure.
But if you're going to bring something in for a Euro, if you don't want to mess with it, just cut the head off.
Okay.
Because, like we talked about the processors, the clock starts then, and if you let a Euro sit out with the hide off, that skull will start to suck stuff in, and it gets a little weird.
Okay.
So leave the hide on and get it here, just like anything else. I want it as soon as possible. I don't do skulls that are, green and crawling, and I just don't. I don't do that either.
Well, that was kind of where I was going. There's a lot of people that, they just whack that head.
Skulls too that have sat in the barn for a couple years, but there's always that chance that skull's not going to turn out because everything's dried to it. And I mean, if you got a skull like that, everything's dried to it. Let's say the cow stepped on it, or you won't see it until you get everything softened up, and then it starts to fall apart.
Okay.
So then the next thing is a screwdriver. That's going to be your other main tool. And we'll stick that right in underneath the burr. Some guys try to cut this off with a knife and it never works. So now when I get this all tanned, I know exactly where that point is because I can see that.
Sure. Interesting how you're working that all the way around. Most people would have thought they have to take a knife to do that instead of just taking the screwdriver and peeling it away.
That's 30 years of skin on these things. So.
Yep.
Everybody's like, 30 years? You don't look that old. Well, I just turned 45, but I've been doing this for a long time. Yeah, and this is where you'll get your fingers too.
Yeah, if you're using a knife.
Well, even a screwdriver, sometimes you'll slip through and smash your hand. And so if you hear any bleeps, you know what happened. Right there. That's the one that gets you. Of course, it helps having forearms like a gorilla too. So now I'm going to cut this ear canal off and open this side up. And I got my hand underneath here so I can feel where I'm at.
Sure.
Because you don't want to cut your fingers, so you're going to kind of pay attention. And that lip right there, if you're not paying attention, you'll cut through there. So now we're into the salivary glands and everything on that side. Sometimes they stand up nice too.
So while he's doing that, so did you have this deer scored yet? Did you get it measured?
No, I haven't had him scored yet or anything.
Okay.
What's your guess?
My guess?
I'm not the best at that.
And I have no clue because I just don't score.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would never try to guess. I'm not that good. You know, as far as that's concerned, I see he's got a busted tine, which is kind of a shame because that was unique
Yeah.
on that one side there.
I'll have to check a trail camera and see if I can see any pictures of him with the
Yeah.
pine on there. I don't know, I'd guess 130 to 140, but
He's got some nice mass to him,
Yeah.
especially out at the end there. He definitely does. Now, Roger, when you have somebody that has a deer with a broken tine, and guess what? They're lucky enough to find that other side. Is that something you can fix?
That is, and I used to repair tines. I actually rebuilt like half racks and stuff like that. Used to do a lot of reproduction racks, but with my time restraints now, we're doing anywhere from 150 to 200 deer a year sometimes. It's nothing I can take on anymore. There is some guys out there that they'll rebuild with epoxy sculpt. Last year we had a bunch we were going to rebuild, and we had gotten a bad batch of epoxy sculpt in, because they're changing all the formulas on stuff for some reason. So we just basically quit doing it because I didn't want to put out a product that wasn't going to be, superior, I guess I could say. But I just don't want to. I don't want to throw any junk out, you know.
Right. Well, as I talked to Roger's customer here earlier, best thing you can do is always go talk to your taxidermist. See the work. Make sure it's not the competition work. It's the work that they're doing for their customers. See what they do. Talk to them. Good taxidermist is going to be honest with you. Tell you if you're going to have issues before he even starts. So,
Well, and see, that's why I quit doing waterfall, because around here these birds are for eating. It's very rare that I get any birds in without pin feathers, and if you got a bird with pin feathers, it's going to look lumpy.
so again, Roger, when you let's just kind of go over what you do for your business. I mean, what are you mainly doing now?
Right now, we're specializing on whitetails, big game shoulder knolls, elk, moose, stuff like that, and turkeys. Usually we bring in about 300 jobs a year, and I need to kind of start slowing down a little bit. And so we basically I want to specialize in whitetails and turkeys basically. That way I can get back into competing again. And actually this winter, I'm going to school with John Beard from Birds Only Taxidermy. He's probably one of the best turkey guys in the world, other than Shane Smith. So I'll be studying under him this winter too. And I'll be taking a few whitetail classes too next summer for different guys. And it's just giving me a chance to kind of slow down a little bit and really focus on things. I mean, and I love what I do. I've been doing it since I was a little kid, and I want to continue to love what I do. So here's another thing that's really important for guys that are going to do this out west and wherever they're going. This right here, this messes up more deer hides and more elk hides than anything else, is that dreaded back of the eye cut. So everything is good there right now, but always gets cut like right where my thumb is, because this is pulled over. And to me, it looks like you could just cut right there, right? And you'd be fine, but that's not the case. You have to stick your finger up in the eye, into the eye socket itself, and feel where you're at. And you want to pull with your finger out and make your cut, because if I would have cut right there, we would have cut through the back of the eye. You can see my glove there? Mm-hmm. And that's where it always happens, is right there. And it's such a hard spot to fix because there's hardly any hair there. So then we'll just come through my fingers there. And then you'll see me cut right through. And then you'll expose the eye. And I'll come up to the brow a little bit. And our deer around here have some really heavy brows too. So now we're all open, nictitating membranes right there, and there's no cut in the back of the eye. And then the tear ducts too, them are coming up pretty quick. If you cut a tear duct, it's not a big deal. It's fixable. I cut them all the time. It's just sometimes it happens. So we'll get into that gland right there, that preorbital gland. And that's the tear duct right there, or the preorbital gland. All the taxidermy competition guys will be like, hey, that's not called that. You know how that goes.
Mm-hmm. Tomato, tomato. Potato, potato.
Everybody talks about layman's terms, and I'm like, that's even beyond me. So we're coming into that cartilage again right there. So if you would have just cut right through here, you would have cut the back of that eye. So I got my finger in there. I can feel the back of that lid. Mm-hmm. And I'm right on the cartilage. I'm just going to cut through. I'm kind of a heavy mouth breather, so I'm sure you're going to pick that up.
That's all right. I just thought you were excited to see us.
I'm excited. Every time I get to put a scalpel in my hand, I'm excited. I know that sounds like a Ed Gein type thing, a Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but it never fails. And sometimes, if we're doing a competition type thing, I'll use this nictitating membrane. But for commercial stuff, we just do it a little different.
Now, one thing I know that I really like about your mounts, and people, when you talk to your taxidermist, wherever you're at, the nose and the eyes are so much of the mount. If you look at some of these older mounts, you'll notice they don't look real. And one of the things Roger does is he takes really good care of those noses and those eyes. I mean, you can't understate how much that means to a mount. So.
And then another thing I do too is I want a green measurement on this cape. So when I get done tanning it, will match it. And I don't want to like super stretch it here. I kind of pull it kind of hard. And then I'll kind of work it down so it kind of balances. You can see how it kind of starts to balance.
Mm-hmm. Well, Roger, do you do your own tanning?
Yes, I grew up working in the fur company, so I've tanned things since I was a little kid. So we're going to push this one to 22, which is a big deer. But yeah, everything gets tanned in-house. I hate sewing other people's holes, and I can't sleep at night if things are on the road and in transit. They have to be here in one of my freezers, so that way I know.
Okay. Because I know a lot of taxidermists out there will send theirs to a tannery.
It's just because we can argue for days. There's a world champion that we kind of go back and forth about. Are you a tannery or a taxidermist? Well, to me, it's just like when I trap for a living. You have to put up your own hides. It's part of the game, and that's just how we do it here too.
Okay.
So, and when you're cutting your skulls, another important thing. Some people will take a universal measurement, and it's always like a 2-finger thing from the back of the eye, and that's a farce because I can show you, like on this rack here even, and this rack here. That measurement from there to there is different from that one. This one here is different from that one. Back of the out of the burr. Each deer is different. So the way I cut mine off is just like that.
Okay.
Because I want to be able to pull that. Hair patterns are huge for me. So when we cut our stuff off, this is the point where the customer's like, oh, I wanted €1. So it's happened. I just got going last year. I gave away a free deer mount because of it. And he'll giggle as soon as he sees that too, because he'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Brain bucket.
Now in CWD areas, do you got any suggestions for people when it comes to this, especially with the European type mounts?
Well, with the European mounts, it's going to be a little harder because you have to get all that all the brain stuff out of it. So it's kind of a bummer with the guys doing Euros and like your mule deer situations and stuff like that, because they want all this stuff out of the cavity itself, and it's kind of hard to get it out of there. I mean, there's a couple proprietary things that we do to get it out, but
as far as the state is concerned,
and you know, every state.
Do you have that issue? I guess
I don't, because most of the guys that come here, they kind of know how to do all that stuff, and there's stuff available so you can figure that out. You wanted kind of an age on this too, didn't you?
Yeah.
because I know transporting of deer across state lines, you know, people,
Well,
you just got to watch those types of
Here's
things.
the other thing too, is if, let's say you're coming from Minnesota, Iowa, and this changes all the time, so please check and make sure. You have a certain amount of time, there you can see the teeth there. You have a certain amount of time to get to a processor or a taxidermist, whether it's, I forgot if it's 72 hours, 48 hours, or whatever it is. I mean, check your local laws. So you can bring deer in and through, at least it used to be that way. And like I said, it might have changed because it's different every year. So we try to catch up with the wardens before season and kind of go over things like that. So we have a meeting coming up. I'll sit and talk with Trevor about some things and kind of get that all figured out beforehand, so there's no issues down the road. So now I'm basically just going to clean the skull up. And some people boil these, and we don't, because a lot of people like to see all the stuff that's left on the antlers from rubbing and stuff like that.
Sure.
I treat them a little different.
Well, once again, Roger, really appreciate taking your time and your busy schedule.
Because it just
No,
helps everybody out, because then it just makes their stuff even better.
Yep. Well, that's what we were hoping to help everybody out
Just
here
really
learn and
perfect timing.
yep.
This part. 'Cause they're like, oh.
And Trevor, once again, we're going to say thank you to you for allowing us to do this because we know you're busy as well. So, you know.
Perfect.
Agreed. So like borax is like our best friend.
For the people that don't know what borax is, it is laundry detergent.
And be very, very careful with it, because that's another reason why I quit doing birds, is because somebody just coded, they actually got their lungs burnt from borax. And it shut them right down. They actually had to get medevaced out and get brought back. So it's just something that kind of will make you think a little bit. So
So this is your borax bin here, I'm guessing. Okay.
yeah, we buy it by the 5-gallon buckets.
And for the people that don't know what borax does,
It's a bug proofer. It's not a preservative. It's just a bug proofer. So this will actually all dry up, and then I'll hit this with my wire wheel real quick before I mount it, and it'll clean it right up and be ready to rip.
okay, so one of the things I was always told that borax does is it dries out the flesh and the fattiness.
Yep.
And that's the reason why you guys use borax a lot.
It's like the best bug proofer ever.
Okay.
So in my turkey mounts, my bird mounts, we'll use borax inside and out and dust them pretty good. So
So how long does that usually stay on there?
that'll stay on there. As soon as it dries, it'll encapsulate it just like that. And then when I get ready to mount, I'll wire wheel everything off and clean it up. And all this stuff will retain, as you can see on the other antlers, all this stuff here will stay on there.
Oh yeah.
So,
So it just hardens on there and
yep, it just
you leave it until you're ready.
So,
All right. Well, everyone, hope you enjoy the video here. Thanks again, Roger. Thanks again, Trevor, for allowing us to do this. And once again, tight lines, shoot straight, everyone. I'd like to thank Roger Carlson there from Howling Hollow Taxidermy. Did a fantastic job of explaining things to us. So that way, when you get that big buck out west, you know how to take that skull out. Remember, like and subscribe our videos. Helps us bring more content out to you. And for the time being, shoot straight. Tie lines, everyone. Thanks again.